Okay, top 7 ways to generate new business leads on the internet and learn how to increase the number of new business leads you receive from your company website. We'll also explore how to create a lead generation page on the internet and a little bit about my background. Um, I've been refining my networking skills both on and off the internet for the last 15 years. Off the internet as a BNI assistant director in Oregon and Connecticut, but on the internet as a web designer, internet marketer, and currently I'm president of marketing department. We've got 14 um, marketing professionals in the marketing department, marketingdepartmentlb.com. And Tori is one of our professionals. And she has, like all of our professionals in the marketing department, everyone has their own business. Tori's business is Web Design Island. And she's kind of the nuclear version of anything I could do on a website, because she's been designing websites and developing websites. And the difference between design and develop is really, the look versus all the functionality. And she both designs and develops for hundreds of business owners. And she's created internet marketing systems since 2008. And her specialty is automating client communication, engaging visitors with a dynamic, interactive website, automating the sales process with online e-commerce solutions, and automating lead generation using company websites and lead pages to create new streams of contacts and clients. And maybe before we're done, she'll have a chance to say something about the lead funnel system that she's creating that's very unique compared to a lot of the funnel systems out there on the internet. Has some amazing features. Okay, and so the webinar overview. Are you having a difficult time knowing how to boost the effectiveness of your company's online presence in generating new business leads and clients? Where's the low-hanging fruit that'll give you the best results for your efforts? And we're going to look at 7 ways to create change that will transform your company website from an online brochure into a powerful sales partner for your business. And it'll be like your networking buddy who's going to be out there making connections for you 24/7. And most of us here, we're in networking groups, and we know what that involves. And it'd be nice to have someone out there 24/7 making those kinds of connections. And that's what we're looking for here to explain in this webinar. Okay, I've got your questions that you asked. The next thing I want to do then is just to jump in to 7 ways to generate new business leads on the internet. And I'm going to start out with a few things. Tori is really the technology expert. And when we begin to drill down into the details, Tori's going to really be taking over here. But I wanted to start with an area that people don't usually think of, that if it's not covered before you even begin to design the website, or if you've already got a website, if you haven't thought of these things, things are going to tend to get confusing, not really fit. They're going to fall apart. And what I mean is your message and your impression that you give to viewers. So that's why I want to mention as a starting point, that the starting point before any marketing activity, before starting to design your website, before thinking, oh, I want these pictures, I want these videos, I want this functionality. Before you do that, and if you're reviewing your website, strongly encourage you to focus on your brand identity. And here are 7 all important questions to ask yourself. And think of these. I could send these out later if you're interested in receiving them. Let me know, because it's a good self-test, and everything we're going to give you is really going to be a self-test. And definitely, we're there to help you, but we want to give you some guidelines so that you can go back, analyze your website, your online presence, and strengthen it. So, a really good starting point, your brand identity, is to ask yourself, why are you in business? And so I know in particular, Jeremy is in a mortgage review business where he reviews mortgage loans, um, and to ask, why. I just use Jeremy as an example here so that we can make these points real. Why are you in business? It might be to save people money, keep them from bad mortgage loans, save them, thousands of dollars a month or a year for the rest of their life. Okay, what are the key differentiating values and beliefs? That's the second question. Your key differentiating values and beliefs. And a third question is, what value do your customers receive from you? And people will mostly think in terms of value, in terms of, well, I review mortgage loans and you save money. But that's a rational value, and that's good. But what emotional value? What spiritual value? So you want to think, what's really setting you apart? And if you can get in touch with what are you doing emotionally for people, think of the peace of mind, saving money, making all of life easier in terms of Jeremy and mortgage. Those are some emotional things. Get in touch with your emotional value. That's an important part of your brand. And when you get in touch with that, you want to make sure your website reflects that, and then it increases the ability to connect with people. Another good question, fourth question, is how does your business differ from other businesses that offer similar products and services? Everyone has choices. What is your differentiating factor? Does that show in your website, or is it pretty much like any other website of the same profession? A fifth question: if your business didn't exist, who would care, and what wouldn't have happened? Okay, a sixth question: what makes your business vital or indispensable? And then finally, how does your business website reflect your answers to these questions? So you can see how getting in touch with your brand identity, all this together, creates your unique brand identity. And to get in touch with this strongly, before you even dive into the technology of your website and what images to put here, what videos to put, what functionality, what neat, cool things on your website, the important thing, starting point, is what is your brand identity? If you didn't exist, what wouldn't have happened? What makes you unique? You get those questions down, and you're in a good position to create a powerful website that connects with people. So, okay, that's just a starting point. I wanted to mention that first before we dived into the technical issues, but now we're getting into Tory country, and we're going to go with. I'm going to mention 14 marks of a professional company website. And Tory, definitely chime in, take over if you want. But I'll just mention some of these to get the ball rolling. And you can use these 14 marks of a professional company website for kind of a test of your website. And what we encourage you to do is have somebody else test your website according to these 14 marks for you, because you're going to be kind of jaded. It's your website, you're really close to it, and you invested a lot in it. So you need a clean perspective. So, okay, the first one is that the website is clean. It's got a color scheme designed well, and you can base it on your logo color scheme, but it's a clean website. And we've all seen websites that are so complicated that they really it's hard to really focus on any one thing, and you're looking at it, you're wondering, well, what's this about? So Tori, what do you want to share about what makes a website look clean versus confusing?
Sure. Hi, everybody. So for 2019, I usually stay up on the trends every year because it changes of what we should be designing. And this year, it's all about white space, a lot of white space. It's just bold letters, and there's a lot of white space around it, so you can see it, read it, get your message across. And people don't want to read, right? They want to look at a video or click a button, basically. So people aren't really reading a lot of text. So you want to keep it with a lot of white space. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't like, they're like, well, I want a cool design or whatever, but it's really about white space and just bold text and maybe a few pictures. But video is really the most important thing is that you want to have, because people will sit and watch your video. And because there's a video on your website, it's a little trick. It actually keeps them on your website because they have to stay on your website to watch the video. And that helps you when in the search engines later, when you need to get people to your website from a search, they're looking at how long someone stays on your website. So a video is a very clever little trick that we use to keep people there.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, so clean website, and that's a great point about video, because a video causes people to focus. It gives them a focal point. Okay, so a second mark of a professional company website that causes viewers to immediately see the value of your business is that there's no confusion. Viewers immediately get what you're offering, who you serve, the value that you bring. And how can you design a website to really show that focal point, Tori?
Well, you basically nowadays, believe it or not, you have to tell people what to do when they get on your website. You can't leave it up to them to figure it out anymore. You just got to literally tell them what to do. And we call those call to actions, right? So if they're reading something, you got to tell them, click this button right now and read this or something. You have to specifically tell them, set an appointment with me here, right here, click this button. So call to actions, and they should be spread out throughout the site too, because think about, people are looking at your site on a cell phone. So they're scrolling all the way down, all the way down, all the way down. And if your call to action's way up here, you're going to lose them because they got to go scroll all the way back up to get your call to action. So you also want to sprinkle your call to action throughout the website so they don't have to go all the way back up. But you definitely just want to tell them what you want them to do. That's how it works. Just tell them what you want them to do.
Excellent. And that brings to mind something that I was going to mention later, but since you mentioned it, Tori, when you're designing a website, very, very often people will decide, okay, what do I want to say? And they'll start with that question. What information do I want to give? But what if you designed every page of your website from the end to the beginning, meaning before you even design a page, ask yourself, what is the call to action for this page? And then work backwards to your message. And this is a really cool trick, because if you design your everything that you, even if you're giving a presentation and you're speaking, if you start out with what action do I want the viewers to take, and this is really the so what. If you start with that action and then you work yourself backwards to what do I want to say now to support this action I want my viewers to take, it's going to be far more powerful. And so think of that as you look at your existing website, as you're writing a blog article, you're adding to your website, you create a new page, start with the call to action and then work your way backwards. If you got an e-commerce website and you have products, rather than thinking, oh, here's this great product and I'm going to describe this widget and it does this, this, and this, don't start there, because it's going to put people to sleep. What you want to do is ask yourself, what do I want people to do as a result of looking at this widget? Because if you start with information, what's going to happen is you're going to create a page based on information. And what the viewer does when they're faced with a page based with information, they're going to read your information, and if they don't fall asleep, they're gonna absorb it, and then they're gonna say thanks, bye. and if you start on the other hand with the call to action, and then you create your whole message based on that call to action, then they're moving throughout toward that action, and they're more likely to take it. They're going to give you a call, they're going to leave their contact information, they're going to download a white paper, they're going to buy a product. So start out with the call to action and then work your way backwards. Okay. And it makes things more clear. Talked about we spoke about websites being clean, no confusion. Call to action will do that. Another element, a third element, is that your website is easy to navigate. And Tori described the difference between a website that's easy to navigate versus one that is confusing and causes people to just basically get tired and go somewhere else.
Well, it's a lot of clutter for one, but yeah, easy to navigate is a very simple menu, right? That has, just basic things that you need. And then you can break things down into categories once you're on the page. But if you try and keep the menu clean, that's going to be your best bet, because especially on a cell phone, and I talk about the cell phone a lot because it's the number one thing people are looking at your website on, is it will kind of expand down on a cell phone. So you don't want a lot of stuff in there. I don't know if you can see that. I can share my screen.
So they basically shouldn't have to scroll down your menu.
Exactly. So when you go into the cell phone view.
Oh, cool.
Menu, right? So you don't want 100 things in there, right? Because you want it quick and easy. And then once they get to the page, then I would break it down into more subcategories, right? You don't need to put that all in your menu. You want to keep your menu clean. But this is basically how the different screen sizes are going to look for your website. They move actually with the screen size. So you want everything to move and stack with your website. That's called responsive. So anyone who's not developing responsive websites, run from them. Because that's the way of the world right now.
And by responsive, you mean that it works equally on every screen that you look at. If you're on an iPad, if you're on a computer desktop, if you're on a mobile phone, the website reconfigures itself to fit that screen, so you're not having to scroll sideways and to see the content on the page.
And even nowadays, we can make certain things on the cell phone not show. Like if you have a lot of stuff on your regular website on a desktop, we can actually not make some of those things show when it gets squished down to this size, just for, you know, clean reading purposes, you know. So if it's not that important to whatever you want them to do on your website, then we'll remove those sections on a mobile, because mobile's number one. It's like 90% of your viewers are going to be looking on a mobile.
Okay, that's very good. And spacing is important. When Tori designs a website, she makes it so that, you know, on a desktop, there might be spaces between some of the images, some of the content, because that looks good on a desktop. On a mobile device, though, you want to eliminate those spaces because people may be looking at a whole screen of a blank space on a mobile.
Another thing I've found over the years, is my pet peeve, is that people are skipping over the tablets now. They're not designing, they're not checking tablets. They're just going either from the desktop to the cell because they think everybody just cares about the cell. There's plenty of people out there that use iPads still and all kinds of tablets, readers, and nobody is checking those. So when I'm designing, I usually have all three screens up when I'm designing. So I'm checking all three at all times. But you'll find that if you start going to like an iPad and looking at websites, you'll see that they didn't even bother to configure those. And that's the other thing, is we're designing 3 websites nowadays instead of 1. So our work is tripled because it's a completely different design for a tablet and it's a completely different design for a cell phone. I see this mistake a lot when people trying to build their website with Wix. They forget all about the mobile version. They have to do a whole separate design for that. And that's what I always say to them when they're like, oh, look at my Wix site. And when I check it on a mobile right away, I go, here, this is what it looks like on a mobile phone. This is going to be your main audience. And then,
you know, that's really crucial, because we're talking about your website being your networking buddy. It's out there networking. Now, if you're networking, you're going to automatically adjust your presentation to the person you're talking to your audience. And Tori's talking about doing the same thing with your website. It adjusts to the audience and the way that they're viewing. So that's really powerful.
And guess who our audience is coming up? Millennials. And they're only going to be on a cell phone. They probably don't even own a computer.
Absolutely.
Right? They're on the go, and they want something fast, and they want to just click some buttons and have their product or service done, right? Paid for, delivered in 2 clicks. So that's what
okay. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know what that's all about. There's somebody that's logged on as me and they're not muted. So
oh wow,
that was
okay.
Why don't you mute everyone, David?
I could do that. Would that be helpful? Okay, let's do that. Let's just mute everyone.
Dana's got, maybe somebody's.
Oh my gosh, there's a double Dana. Okay, you're right, Dana. Oh, one will not unmute. Oh, isn't that amazing? Okay, well, this is interesting, Dana. We've got a technology issue that we have not experienced before. Okay, so here's another element that I know Tori's going to have a lot to say about, and that's that your website is fast. We've got an impatient audience out there, and a slow website is going to cause people they'll leave. They'll just leave. If they're sitting there waiting and they see the little circle going around and around while you're going from page to page, or they click on a link, they're out of there. So Tori, how do you make a website fast?
It's a lot of work for us. There's a lot of things we have to do. It's a lot of calibration. It's plugins. It's a combination of a lot of things, or removing plugins. There's too many plugins on the website, but and there's testers that we have to test in. So it's really cleaning up the back part of the website too. That's the other thing. That could be all cluttered just as much as your front part of your website, but it needs to be clean. You should only have plugins that you absolutely need. I like to even eliminate plugins with code. I can actually write code and not use a plugin instead. That's better because that's going to speed up your website, right? Because the plugins are actually loading all of this extra code that you don't really need or you may not be using in the website, and that's what slows it down.
Okay.
Yep.
So there's no simple way to make a website fast. You got to look at every page, look at the elements on the page, how much space they take up. Yeah, okay.
And it's different too for mobile. They're doing a separate, completely different kind of test for mobile than they are for the desktop even.
Okay.
And Google rules all that. So a search engine is in charge of the laws and the rules, and what they say goes, because that's how people view websites in a browser. So Google is the one that determines how they're going to display to you in a browser, which is Chrome, Firefox, Opera, whatever you use. Google makes the rules for that. So they tell the web designers, hey, your website needs to have this, 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 and this for us to make it fast, or for people to find it, or all that. We have to abide to their rules and laws, and they're constantly changing.
Okay, and are there places you can go to test the speed of your website?
Yeah, you can Google anything to, speed test, whatever. And then there's even separate ones for mobile too. So yeah, you can just Google that, whatever.
Okay, excellent.
Good.
Okay, the next two are little more content related issues. We've talked about clean, no confusion, easy to navigate, fast. The next one is viewer centered. And so what I usually suggest, what we suggest for people, is whatever you want to say, flip it upside down. And what I mean by that is people naturally want to talk about their business. And they want to say, well, we've been in business so many years and we have this great widget and it does this, this, and this. And so they're talking about their business, they're talking about their services. And you know what? Nobody cares. They don't really care about your business. I hate to say that, but that is absolutely true. What they do care about is their problem. And so like Jeremy for mortgage, rather than saying, oh, I check these mortgages out and I do these tests and those tests on mortgages and we run these through tests that you're not going to find anywhere else. And he get into all that, and it's like nobody cares. But what they care about is, are you spending more every month? You're spending hundreds of dollars more every month than you need to spend on a bad mortgage. What could you do with those hundreds of dollars that you're spending? Think of, vacation, improvements on your house, send your kids to college, not worry about making that mortgage payment. Am I going to be able to make it this month? Now you're getting into emotional stuff. You're getting into, you're talking about the viewer and their problems and their issues. You connected with your viewer. So you start out with the problem, then you're ready for your solution. Well, hey, you're tired of trying to make this mortgage payment, and then you realize, oh my gosh, this was even unfair to begin with, and now you're resentful and you're losing sleep over stuff. Well, wait a minute, I got a solution for you. We check your mortgage up front. You see, they're ready to think about your solution only when you've connected with your viewer around their problem. So I always suggest you start with the problem, then you go to your solution, and then you list all the benefits. And the benefits are exactly the opposite of the problem you began with. For example, the benefits in this case would be you're not worrying every month about making a mortgage payment. You have money for, sending kids to college, or for a vacation, or for home improvements. You got all these benefits because you had your mortgage checked up front. And so problem, solution, benefits is an awesome way to write the content on your page. And of course, then you move to the call to action, the so what. Okay, what are you going to do about it? How long are you going to put up with this problem? And how long until you get your mortgage checked and get the kind of mortgage that's going to give you all these benefits. So another element, so make it viewer centered. Another element is it's useful to the viewer. And we talk about relevance. And relevance is a word that Tori deals with on a daily basis when it comes to websites. She's not only looking at what colors do you have and where does this image go, where does this video go. She's looking at the question of relevance. So Tori, could you speak to that? How do you make a website relevant to the viewer?
Well, short and sweet, first of all.
Okay.
Short and sweet. But so elaborate a little bit on that. What do you
Okay. So relevance basically means if you are selling dog training to dog owners, you're starting out, every page has some kind of keyword that's focused on dog owners. And how many websites have you seen where someone has something to do, their focus is dog owners and dog training, and then all of a sudden they're selling, health supplements.
I know what you mean. So yeah, I see this all the time, and this used to be a big thing back in the day. Where remember when you had a website and your friends like, hey, can you put my website on your website, and we can exchange each other's links and help each other out, and people would just list a bunch of their friends' links and things on their website. And that's what he means by relevance, is that you can't have a dog training website and then all of a sudden a link goes to your friend's store that sells shoes, because Google will know that, hey, this isn't relevant. This isn't the same thing that they're talking about in the website. And then they'll just push you down to the bottom of Google and you're not going to be relevant anymore. So what happens is when Google comes into your website, they come in through your domain name. So that's the first thing they see. So whatever those keywords are in your domain name, like mine's Web Design Island, it's got web design in it. So that's a good domain name because it has a permanent keyword in there that's relevant to me. So they come in through your domain name and they come down into the website and they follow every single piece of text and every single link. So they go through the text, they find a link. Boom, they follow that link. Where's that link going? If that's going to your friend's shoe store, you just lost all the good stuff that's on that page, because Google is not going to scan the rest of it. They're just going to leave your website, go scan another website. So that's why relevance is very important. Yes. So it should all relate, should all follow through. The links on your site should all make sense to Google. Think of them as they're just a machine. They're not a real person. It's just a machine of rules that Google set up for them to go follow. They said, hey, that's called the algorithm. It's a little robot that goes out and looks at all the web pages, not websites, web pages on the internet. Your website is a collection of web pages. So they're actually going into each one of your pages individually. If the links don't follow to the next and the next and it's irrelevant, they'll just leave. So you'll never get the rest of your site ever scanned.
Okay, and think of it from the viewer perspective too. Tori was talking about millennials, how they want information fast, they want it on their phone, and Google knows that it's going to lose its audience if someone goes to Google and they're looking for dog training and they end up with shoes. So Google's just protecting its own reputation by saying, hey, we're going to only support people who give that information. It's focused, it's relevant to the viewer, and that's it. We don't go off on tangents.
Google's number one goal is to deliver you immediately what you're searching for, and the best possible web pages that have that information that you're looking for. That's their number one goal. So that's why all these rules and regulations are in place for us as designers and builders that we have to follow, so we can get our pages into that search so those people can find us.
And once again, we start out with the idea your website is your networking partner. So I want you to imagine yourself going to a networking meeting and you say, hi, I'm Tori, and I'm a web designer, but by the way, I also do mortgage loans, and I also do health supplements, and I train dogs.
It's like when you go to the Chinese restaurant and they sell Italian food too.
And hamburgers. and so what immediately happens though with your audience is they say, oh, this person's a mile wide and an inch deep, and I can't really take them seriously. What if you went to a doctor and you went to a heart specialist? They say, oh, by the way, I fix bunions on your toes. It's like, run. So anyway, relevance on a website is very important. And Google has another motive too, because Google's in business to sell ads. And Google knows that if they lose their audience, that's one less person who's going to see all the ads that they want you to click on, so they can make money. And so it's kind of like a win-win situation. You help Google, Google helps you by being relevant. Okay, so clean, no confusion, easy to navigate, fast, viewer-centered, useful to the viewer, keyword-driven content, relevant. Relevant. Keyword-driven content was the next. How does Google gauge relevance? I mean, Google's not like this person that's going to sit there studying your site and analyzing it. How does Google know relevance, Tori?
Because all they can do is read your words. That's why content is still king. So you have to have a balance. You don't want a lot of content for your readers because they don't want to read it. But you need a lot of content for Google because they're going to scan it. So it's got to be an even kind of pleasing. You're pleasing your audience, you're pleasing Google. They can only scan content. They cannot see a video, they cannot see a picture on your website. So, and that's where code comes in called tags. So when you're adding video or photos, you want to make sure they're tagged with keywords. Usually when you can enter or upload a photo, they'll have a little section called tags. That's your opportunity to put a keyword in there. So if the pictures of, a clown, you want to put those tags in there, clown, or, whatever it pertains to on that page. It might be a kid's website selling birthday parties, and then you got a picture of a clown, so you might put the tags clowns, kids' birthday parties, as many keywords as you can attach to that photo, because that's all Google can see when they're coming down and they get to that picture. All they can see is the text. They're just reading words. So that's all they have to go on. So you have to have enough keywords in there in order for them to bring up that page for whoever's searching for you, which is somebody's searching for birthday parties. Maybe they're even searching to rent a clown, whatever. Maybe you make that picture say rent a clown too as the tag, just to kind of get that page up in front of this person that's searching for you.
Okay. And every page you want to have a focus keyword that goes throughout the page and have a different focus keyword for each page. And so it could be like if we went with dog training, which is easier for me to think of than clowns.
Those are scary.
Yeah, I know, scary clowns. Anyway, for dog training, it could be a page focused on puppy training, or and so the whole thing is about training your puppy. And another one could be training your dog to ride in a car without jumping all over the driver and causing a wreck. And so that page is just about driving with your dog and or driving with an obedient dog. And another one could be housebreaking your dog. And so you see how you break things down, but you do each page focused on one particular aspect. If you decide, okay, I'm going to write this page on dog training, I'm going to do all of those things I just mentioned, Google's going to look at it and say, oh, that's really generic. Next. And it's gonna move on. So you want to break down everything you're saying into a focused keyword that just is that page, and then speak about that. Make the whole page, the whole message about that thing. Housebreaking your dog. So don't talk about walking the dog on that page. Talk about just housebreaking your dog. And here are all the different methods. Here's what happens if you don't housebreak your dog. And you can really get into it. It's kind of a liberating thing when you think, here's my subject. Now I'm going to unpeel this subject like an onion and get all the different layers, but I'm going to stay.
And the key is why you want to have separate pages with separate topics is because the more pages you have, that's the more pages you have on the internet in the massive sea of pages, millions of pages, right? Remember, Google's not looking at a website. They're looking at each individual page. So if you have a website that's only 3 pages, that's all they can scan and they're on their way off to the next website. If you have 100 pages, they're going to scan every single one of those pages. So now you have 100 pages with 100 different focused topics. Think about that. You're going to have more visibility as a 3-page website than with a 100-page website, comparing your web pages to the millions that are out there too. It's like a needle in a haystack. So the more pages you have, obviously the better, but where people make the mistake when they do a lot of pages is they use the same keywords throughout the whole website. Now you've wasted that whole opportunity to have a focused keyword for every single web page. Now you can cover 10 topics instead of 1. So that's the key when it comes to SEO. That's how you get free SEO. That's the way to do it for free. You have to make sure that you have a lot of content, and each page, like David's saying, has to be just one topic.
So when you're talking about pages, so like if you have blog posts on your website, is each blog a separate page or?
Sure is, and that's what I was going to say. So in today's world, right, the old static pages, which were, we'd have to create one page at a time, build a page, go to the next page, add another one. Those are all static pages, right? But in today's world, now we have things that are, I call products, but they're plugins now that you can add to a page, okay, to a website, right? And so these plugins in itself, just adding a plugin, configuring it, putting it out there, which is a blog is in a sense a plugin. The plugin itself could automatically create pages for you. So for example, in a blog, every time you do a blog post, that just created another page for you automatically, right? You didn't have to have a web designer go in there, add a page, design it, put it to a menu, put it up in your menu, right? So you can access it. So there's tons of things like that. For example, a calendar. Like if you have a calendar on your website of events, every time you add an event, that is another page on your website. So now the calendar just became a way for you to add hundreds of pages. So if you put in hundreds of events, Those are all individual pages, and if you're smart, you're going to be using anything that creates an individual page for you, meaning it's a new URL link that Google can scan separate from this page and this page. If you're using the focused topics like David's saying, you just now, catapulted yourself. Now you're covering, you can cover 100 different topics instead of just one, and used your 100 blog posts for one topic. What a waste, right? It should have been totally key focused individually for each one of those. So yeah, so there are plugins and products now that will create and automatically make pages, like for whatever you're adding. So events, even a calendar post, that's considered a page. Anytime you see a new URL up in the top of your website that has a different different link, that is considered a whole new separate page in Google.
That's cool. And think of it from the viewer perspective too. So I go to Google and I'm looking to housebreak my dog. And so is Google going to send me to a generic dog training page? No. They want to send me to something that's going to say specifically how to housebreak my dog. And so if you have a page, you're a dog trainer, you have a specific page on how to housebreak your dog. Now Google has sent that viewer to your page, or it could even be how to housebreak your dog in Las Vegas. And you make it so specific. Now you got somebody that's coming to your website that would not otherwise have come to your website. And so that's how you.
Point, if I can interject real quick, that brings me to a point. There's also local search and non-local search too. You made a good point. So like if you are a company that only is in Vegas and your customers are only Vegas targeted, like for example, like maybe a photographer, they're not going to want to be global because they are going to have to fly all over and do the photos. So they might they only want Vegas people, locals. So that search is even particular in your SEO. Like all your focused keywords would always contain Las Vegas because it's a specific location.
Excellent. Okay, good. So that's the seventh thing was keyword driven content. The eighth was being visible on the search engines, and I think we also addressed that already. So let's go to the ninth one, is interlinking to other content on your website. And why is this important, Tori, that when you're on a page of your website, that you have links to other pages of your website?
Well, they have to follow. You want to keep them on your website for one. So a search engine is literally following each one. So that's number one. And that's just how navigation works. Like that's how you browse through a website. And also those links could follow outer places too, like your social media, say, right? And that tells the story. That's the brand consistency. You want to make sure that everything that's going out from your website and coming into your website is all interlinked, like it's all one big entity, right? And another thing too about that is that a while back we were putting all the social media links at the top of the website, and that has changed now because as soon as they click one of those links, obviously it opens up into Facebook or whatever, and that technically is going away from your site. And the key is you want to keep people on your site as long as you can. And if I could just mention, this is another pet peeve I have, is people go out, right, and they post things in Facebook, right, or Instagram or whatever, right? And then they're trying to get somebody to see a webinar or sell something there. And they've bypassed their website completely, which is the worst thing you can do. Everything should originate on your website. So your blog post, right? So you should write up a blog post and then share it out to your social media. So it should originate on your website. When you blast it out to your social media, right, there should just be a link to bring them right back to your website. It's almost like a boomerang. You want to use social media to shoot out stuff from your website to bring them right back to your website, because that right there is the key to SEO, because it's traffic. traffic keeps coming to your website, keeps coming to your website. How does it keep coming? If they're staying over on social media and reading your stuff and never coming to your website, you've completely lost. You've completely misused the whole point of social media. It should be a boomerang. Have them always use it, always. It's almost a teaser too. Don't even give them what they want in social media. Tease them and get them back to your website. Because if they're coming back to your website for that specific thing, like say it was a blog post or a product, then they might see other stuff and buy other stuff from you. But if you are only shooting out one product on your social media, they'll never see everything else you got if they never go back to your website. So your website still is king. It's still the center of all things. It's like, so for people who think they don't need a website are sadly mistaken, because it is still the core of all your online, everything you do online. It should stem from your website, and you should always use anything outside of it to bring them back to it.
Excellent. And think of your business card. How does your business card encourage people to go to your website? Just having your web address on your business card may not really do it. But if you take the back of your business card and say, there's this really cool downloadable thing that I've written on how to save thousands of dollars on your mortgage. Go to this page and learn. Now you've driven people to your website. If you got a brochure and it encourages people to go to your website, so much the better. How many people I've worked with that have sent out mailers, and the mailers don't even have a link to their website, and they have no reason to go to the website. It's like they spent thousands of dollars just to print and send out this mailer, and they haven't even utilized their website. And then they're wondering, oh, I got no response, mailers don't work. Well, they didn't fully utilize it. So that's a good one, Tori. And then on interlinking, think Wikipedia. One of the reasons why Wikipedia is so visible on the internet is it's got this interlinking structure. It's got, you're reading this paragraph, and then there are words that are bolded that lead to another article on Wikipedia. And then you go to that article, there's another phrase that's bolded that leads to another article on Wikipedia. So you have this kind of network of interlinks. And if your website begins to look like the Wikipedia, and you have that network of interlinking happening, Google's going to say, wow, this website really has connectivity. I'm going to raise it up in the ranks. So
and one other thing I want to say about linking too is that you want to use keywords in the actual link too. So if you have something on your website, and you don't want to use click here or see more or buy now, you want to make sure that you're utilizing the links too, because those are highly looked at in Google. Like they rank those higher, a link. And so if you're you want to use it like in a sentence, say like, I am looking to rent a clown, and that's literally a link, rent a clown, not click here to rent a clown. It's like it says rent a clown. And like, oh, okay. So you're utilizing the keywords as much as you can, but you don't want to overly do it, because that's also called keyword stuffing, and you'll get penalized for that, because the reader can pick up on that. If I have rent a clown, rent a clown, rent a clown in every sentence or every other sentence, they're going to be like, this person's like trying to keyword stuff all these keywords on this page, and you don't want to do that. But one of your opportunities is to do it in a link. That's a really good way to utilize a keyword.
Excellent. Yeah, very important to put those keywords in the links. Okay, we're about 6 minutes from the end of this webinar, so I'm just going to mention really quick the additional areas we're going to make note of, and then let's get to your questions. So, we talked a little bit about external links and how to make those relevant. Another area was creating beautiful, relevant images, so that the images on your website are, they relate to the content on your page. They're not just pretty pictures. Videos for dynamic content is another thing. Make that dynamic content, as Tori mentioned earlier, keeps people on the website longer, and Google notices, hey, they lingered longer. I'm going to raise this website in the rankings. Testimonials for credibility, very important. And another element as far as testimonials is you've got a reputation on the internet. How's your reputation on Facebook? How's your reputation on Google? That builds credibility. So be aware of that. And then we did cover this, but a specific call to action on every page and how that's so important. But let's go ahead and let's take a look at your questions. Dana asked the question, how do I know where the prospect is in their buying cycle? So, Tori, do you want to speak to that?
This needs to be a very specific question. Yeah, there's many different ways that people can buy online. So you would have to ask that to me in a specific scenario, like what are you using to purchase, and is it an e-commerce site? That sort of thing. I would need more detail because everything operates differently, and everything could be, you could be measuring things in the back end. There could be plugins that could tell you where the person is. Like we have this thing called a plugin called abandoned cart. So you know how you've done that where you've gone to a store and you're like ready to buy and you're like, I'm not going to check out. You just leave. That's called you just abandon the cart, and then you notice, like, you'll get an email in a couple of days. Hey, we noticed you got some stuff in your cart. It's like, so they've got that all set on automation to remind you, because they're trying to get you to make that purchase too. So they're going to keep sending you emails until you either enter your cart or buy something or unsubscribe from those emails. So there's so many different tools and things out there that it's going to be on a case by case.
Let's take another look at that too. How do you know where a person is in the buying cycle? Now, this tells me, Dana, that maybe you've got a service or a product that has a longer buying cycle. You're not selling flowers. You're not selling massages. You're probably selling homes or cars or something that people are in a particular buying cycle. And what I would say is your focused page content can help you with that. Because if you are selling cars, for example, you could have a page that's focused on evaluating different brands. Okay, you know that someone who's reading that page, and you have something for them to respond to. You know that they're evaluating brands. If you're selling homes, you have a page on preparing your home for a sell and how you make the home, the street appearance look beautiful at that home. And you have 10 tips for increasing curb appeal for your home. Then someone is at the point of actually selling their home, preparing it for a sale. But that is one way you can determine the buying cycle, is you create articles that help people at certain stages, and then you invite people to download something or consult with you, and then this is where they are in their buying cycle. What are you selling, Dana?
I'm a consultant.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a consultant. I'm an HR consultant, and so I get a lot of people that either come to me through social media or they come to me through my website. And I think your comment about using my focus page content will probably help, because I get a lot of people that I'm not quite ready to hire an HR consultant yet, but I wanted to know more about this or more about that. And so I think what you said about focus page content, that will probably help, because I do have some frequently asked questions that come to me. And so I probably can do some stuff on my blog where I answer some of those frequently asked questions and take people down the path that I would take them on if I was sitting in front of them, to lead them to buying, deciding whether they're ready to buy or not, through some of my blog posts. So that helped.
Okay. And you could have, oh, go ahead, Tori.
An FAQ section too on your website, even. Maybe right on the homepage or at the bottom of every page.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
And if you had a question on, or you had a page on the 7 elements that should be included in an employee handbook, that would probably let you know, and download these 7 elements, then they're writing an employee handbook, or how to hire a manager, or how to onboard a manager. And you can have all sorts of different articles that will show where people are, how to create a human resource overall strategy. And it's depending, and always in your article you give them some valuable information to engage them and let them know, hey, I'm glad I came to this page. But then you also say, hey, to get more on this, give me a call, we'll do a quick consultation, or download this information. So you always give them, in your case, you should always give them a next step after they read the article. So you're just saying, hey, this was really valuable information. This helped you, but you want to get some really valuable information. Give me a call. So, okay. Well, we are at the end. Let's see, Jeremy, how to get leads at a good cost was a question Jeremy had, and Tori's basically given us the key to get leads for free, which is have that keyword driven content that brings people to your site, and then have a call to action, and then you have a lead. So and there's a lot more to the science of this, but
yeah, we didn't have time to get into it, but I'm developing this funnel websites. I'm sure you heard the term sales funnel by now, but that's also a mini website that it actually is a lead generator that goes out and gets you leads and brings them to you. And in that kind of website, you are able to track the whole buying process. So like, when a lead comes in, it could send them to a list over here you can market to, and then if they become a customer and buy something in the funnel, then they're sent to another list, and now you've got a list of customers. So it's all very, detailed and laid out, exactly what you're doing, and that's basically what lead generators are for, those types of websites, so that they literally tell you everything from the beginning to the end. So I'm creating a new system that, if you wanted to know more about it, if you want to just set an appointment on my site, I'm getting ready to launch a 14-day trial for the first responders, so that you'll actually get to try it and use it. So, and David and I also do work together. He does the SEO for all the websites that I build. So we're partners in that way.
Yeah, and the cool thing about Tori's funnel is that it's a system that resides on your domain. And that's very different than if you went to a lot of the popular funnel. I've got an email marketing program, GetResponse, that will create a funnel for me. And I can just click a button, wow, I've got a funnel. But it's sending people to the GetResponse domain, not to my domain. And it's building their reputation. It's not building my reputation and visibility. And so that's the unique difference of Tori's funnel, is it's designed to grow your business, grow your reputation, and not some other company's reputation. So
we'll need another webinar for that whole thing.
that's right.
Having things built on your own domain name, that'll have to be a part 2.
Okay. Well, we are just a little past the hour here, our webinar. I hope that you had a very informative experience here. I will record this and put the recording on my website, my other website, networklasvegas.com. So within the next few days, I will have this webinar, the fully recorded version, so you can go through all the points that we made on networklasvegas.com. So thank you for joining us. Jeremy, Double Dana, and let's see, and we had Lewis also, and Mark. Thank you all for being a part of this webinar, and Tori, thank you for being a part of this too. And
you're welcome.
Great time. Okay, best to you and your businesses.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.